Okay, hey guys, we're going to go over those three questions that you had from the small group. So let's take a look at them, and then we'll look at even how to bubble in one of the answers. Okay, so stay with us. First thing we're going to do is look at number 17. It's a food web. The food web question is asking you, basically the key here is how many organisms in this food web eat only producers. Okay, so the idea that's really key here is eat only producers. Okay. Only producers. Some of these organisms eat producers, but not only producers. So let's go through and see who eats what. Okay? All right. So the coyote, let me try to get a little bit bigger marker. The coyote eats cottontail rabbits, white-footed mouse, raccoon, and white-tailed deer. Do any of those things make their own food by going through photosynthesis? And the answer is no, they don't. So this doesn't go through photosynthesis, right? This white-footed mouse doesn't go through photosynthesis. The raccoon doesn't, and neither does the white-tailed deer. So that coyote is a big no. He does not eat only producers. In fact, he doesn't eat any producers. Okay, let's look at the raccoon. Raccoon has two types of organisms that it gets energy from. This is one arrow, and this is another. The white-footed mouse is not a plant. It's not a producer. So the raccoon is automatically going to be a no. Let me erase that real quick. Raccoon is automatically going to be a no as well because he does not eat only producers. And that's what we're looking for. Only producers. All right. So let's look at the other animals. The cottontail rabbit eats green plants only. Green plants are producers because they make their own food from the sun. Therefore, he is a producer, and the cottontail rabbit, therefore, is a yes. Because he doesn't eat any consumers. He only eats plants or producers. White-footed mouse gets its energy source from two places. You can see that here and here. And one of them is green plants, and the other one is berries, fruits, and nuts. Those two things together are producers. The white-footed mouse is a yes. And then finally, the white-tailed deer, he also gets his energy from two places. One is the green plants, and one is berries, fruits, and nuts. So he also only eats producers, and so he's a yes. So this is kind of testing you to see, number one, do you know what the arrow means? You got to know that the arrow means that this energy is going from the cottontail rabbit to the coyote. So the only way that the energy goes from a cottontail rabbit to a coyote is by the coyote putting him in his mouth and chewing him up. Okay, that's how they get energy. All right. The second thing they're wanting you to know there, guys, is producers. You got to know that producers make their own food. And in a terrestrial ecosystem, right? This is not a marine or a freshwater ecosystem. This is terrestrial. Animals on land. Producers in a terrestrial ecosystem are plants. Okay? So if you know that and you understand how the arrows are supposed to look with energy flow, then you should have gotten that there's 1, 2, 3. Okay? All right. Let's move on. Next question goes at number 29. Gonna get there here eventually. Okay, here we go. So these guys are exploring a lake in Argentina, right? And it's called Diamond Lake. And they found these rocks that are covered with mats made of photosynthetic microbes. So they're not really mats, but they're basically these huge blankets of microbes, which are tiny little organisms. And they're photosynthetic, which tells you that they make their own food from the sun, so they are producers. So these microbes are producers, and that's really important. The flamingos in the area filter the nutrient-rich microbes by pumping the lake water through their bill. What they're saying there is that the flamingo sticks his head down in the water, uses his mouth to pump water through it, and it catches the microbes in his mouth and he eats them. So the flamingo is eating the producer. That makes the flamingo a consumer. And it makes the flamingo a primary consumer since he's feeding on a producer, right? So the question asks you, what is the relationship between the photosynthetic microbes, which again is a producer, and the flamingos, which you've already said is a consumer? So let's look. The microbes are parasites and the flamingos are hosts. Okay, so if the flamingo is a host, that means the microbes must be living on the flamingo. This problem doesn't say anything about a parasite, a microbe living on a flamingo. So that's not correct. Okay. All right. Set number 2 says the microbes are carnivores and the flamingos are predators. Okay, well, we know the flamingos eat the microbes, so that could make them predators. But the microbes are not carnivores. They go through photosynthesis. They are producers. So this is not right. Letter C says that microbes are herbivores. This is supposed to be a little tricky because herbivores eat plants, and so you're thinking, oh, the microbes, they're eating plants. No, they're not eating plants. They're their own plant. They go through photosynthesis and they make their own food. So this is not correct. D says that the microbes are producers and the flamingos are consumers. Well, we've already said that the microbes go through photosynthesis. So yes, they are a producer. And since flamingos eat producers, that makes them a consumer. So this problem is correct. Okay. And let's go to the last one real quick. Hopefully real quick. This problem is going to be about whales. Baleen whales. Get there. Here we go. All right. So here's what we know right off the bat. Baleen whales, they eat zooplankton. So we know that baleen whales are not producers because they eat something else. The question is, what is a zooplankton? Right? So these whales eat them by taking large amounts of water into their mouth. These whales use special structures in their mouth to separate the zooplankton from their water. So because baleen whales eat zooplankton, they are classified as, are they producers? No, because if they're producers, they wouldn't be eating anything. Get that red color for that. Okay, are they predators? Well, that depends. If the zooplankton is an animal, then yes, they're predators because they eat the animal. If they are plants, then they are not predators because animals that feed on plants are not predators. They're just primary consumers. So we'll leave this one. We'll leave that with a question mark. Okay. Are they parasites? Are the whales parasites? For the whales to be parasites, they would actually have to live on the zooplankton, which would be one of the funniest things in the history of fish because the whales are much, 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 much bigger than the zooplankton. So that can't be true. And finally, are the whales hosts? Well, if the whales are hosts, that means that the zooplankton are living on them. And that's not what's happening here. The baleen whales are eating the zooplankton. The zooplankton don't want to have anything to do with the baleen whales, so they're not going to be living on them. So the baleen whales are not hosts, which means our best answer choice here is going to be B, that they're predators. So what that tells us is that these zooplankton are actually animals, or they're not plants, they're not photosynthetic. And so these whales eating them makes the whales a predator. Okay? All right. Well, there's your answers. Hope you got a lot of them right. And yeah, go on to your next work. See ya.